Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In this video I will show you how to create advanced health system and damage system without casting, binding or event tick. We will use Blueprint's interface instead. As I previously stated in my other videos, you should never use casting in your games. To be more clear, you can use casting for debugging purposes only or simply to test something real quick. Yes, but if you want to prevent your game from crashing and to improve performance, you should not have any casting in your shipped final game. The choice is yours. Okay, so let's get started. I have this third-person character here template. I'm gonna open the content drawer. And I have this new blueprint, but let's make another one. So new blueprint class, actor, and I'm gonna name this damage_heal. Open it up. So in the event graph, I'm just gonna delete this, we don't need them. So back to the viewport, let's add trigger box. So actually it's called box collision here. And we can type damage_heal_trigger. You can make this as a root if you want. So compile and save. So with this trigger selected on the right side, you can type collision. And for the collision presets, go to custom. Make it ignore all, except for the pawn, make it overlap. So nothing else can trigger this, only our player character, which is the pawn. And we can type here also hidden, so we can see it in the game. So uncheck this, compile and save. Another optimization advice, never scale the actor, this trigger box, with this tool here. Always scale it with a box extend here. Like this. Okay, never scale the trigger boxes with the scale transform here. Okay, so now let's go to the event graph. Scroll all the way down. We're gonna need begin overlap and end overlap. Like I said, every other video is like this. So cast to third-person character. For demonstrational purposes, because not everybody has hover over this node, just hover over and read what it says. This will cause the blueprint to always be loaded, which can be expensive. So the makers of the engine are telling us that this can be expensive. So I'm not inventing this on my own. I didn't just dream and woke up and telling you this. This is coming from the developers of this engine. Okay, from the engineers, just to make a note. Okay, back to the tutorial. So instead of using this, if you cast, this is going to happen. If you are using casting, everything you see here, all this code, will be loaded into the memory. Even this, the character components and these fire particles. So everything, all these components, all these functions here, all these variables, like everything that contains this player character. But if you're using Blueprint interface, this node here, this node will send a message to execute only this line of code, only this, and nothing else from the character. So logically, which way do you think it's a better way for performance? Loading all of this huge code you see, or just this small part over here? Okay, back to our blueprint. That was one of my projects I'm working on. It has complex blueprint. I just wanted to show you what's gonna happen if you use the casting node. Again, the choice is yours. So let's delete this casting. What we are going to use instead is to right click and get player character. So from here, you can type equals. And from other actor, like this, and call a branch. So to call a branch, you can hold down B and left click, or right click and type branch. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this. Now, without casting, we are checking if our player character is overlapping this trigger box. But we cannot use any variables from here, but we can use blueprint interface to use any functions that we have created in our player character, which we are going to do it now. So if this is our player character, let's type print string. Just gonna type here player overlapped, just to make sure this is working. Now I'm gonna throw this actor in the level. So I'm gonna play the game. In the top left corner, we see the message player overlapped. So it's working. Okay, back to our blueprint. We can make this as a function because we're going to use for the end overlap. So select these three, right click, collapse to function, and type player overlaps. We can open this. And for the true, we can right click and type return node. So this function is going to be successful when the true statement is fired. And select this player overlap, and we can type here player. We can exit here. So you can select this and Control D. So when we exit this box, something's gonna happen when player character exits this box. So from other actor in the player. Now let's make sure this is still working. So I'm gonna type here player entered. Again, I'm gonna select this, Control D, and player exits. Now when I enter, player entered, and player exits. So enter, exit. Okay, now let's go to our third person character. So from here, I'm going to create a variable. It's going to be called health. Make it as a float type and compile and save. So health is going to be 100 and compile and save. Now before I have created widget blueprint. So in the content drawer, I have widget. And I have called this widget blueprint in the player character. So when the game starts, we are seeing the widget blueprint on our screen. And I have promoted this to variable, so we can use things from the widget. Now let's create a function. So I'm going to name this function set player health. And this set player health, you cannot use it from here, from the player character. So if you type the function's name, so set player health, it's not coming out. But if you cast, it will coming out. So this is the problem. You have to go around the cast. Now let's go back to our third person character. Now we are in the health function. So drag and drop the health and choose get. Drag up in and type plus. I'll explain everything how it works. Just follow now. So take this pin and input over here. So when you select, we can just type it here, health. And we have to set the health. So drag and drop, set health, like this. And now we want to create progress bar. So if you open the player HUD, we need here a progress bar. So drag and drop progress bar, something like this. I'm gonna name it player health underscore progress bar. So percent is going to be 1. Many tutorials out there are telling you to use binding here, this one. But you should never use this option because this runs on an event tick function. So when you create this will run on event tick, meaning if your computer is running on 100 frames per second, 100 FPS, this binding will run 100 times in 1 second. And that's going to happen throughout your whole game. And that is a lot. If you want to learn in more details why event tick is bad and you should never use it, I have a specific video for that. Check the link in the description. Okay, I'm going to delete this binding now. So let's continue with the right setup. So the percent bar goes from 0 to 1. But our health is from 0 to 100. Now in order this to work properly, from this pin you have to type divide or simply the division operator. So divide by 100. And because when the game starts, I have promoted my widget to variable. It's over here, player HUD. So I'm gonna drag and drop here and choose get. And now I'm gonna have access to all the elements here. But to have access, they need to be as a variable. So when you select this progress bar on the right side, you see here it's variable. If you drag a text, for example, it's not variable. So you cannot access it. But if you make it as a variable, then you can access this text and you can manipulate it. I'm going to delete this now. So again, when you select this, it's called player health progress bar. So back to our character. We are in the set player health function. So drag a pin and type the progress bar name. So progress bar, get player health progress bar. We need the get, not the set. And from here, drag a pin and you can type set percent. Now compile and save. Now this set percent is this one over here. So you see percent. And because this goes from 0 to 1, that's why we are dividing 100 and we are going to put the final input over here. So that way we are going to have from 0 to 100 instead of 0 and 1. So we have to make this mathematical operation to work this properly. And connect over here. Now I'm going to make a reroute node. Now if you go to the event graph, I'm going to type right click, so keyboard. I'm going to keep this 1, so I'm going to make a copy of it. So this is going to be 2. Now I'm going to drag and drop the function. I'm going to duplicate. This means we are setting the health. But we are not just setting it, but we are updating it to positive or negative value. Because we have this here plus, and we have inputted in this here. It means that you can type here -10, for example, and here 10. So this means every time when I press 1, I'm going to take -10 from my health. When I press 2, I'm going to add 10 to my health, because this is positive number, this is negative. That's how we are manipulating this operator. So with this plus, you can make it also minus, actually. So let's go back. Now let's see if it's working. Now when I press 1, it should take -10. But if I keep on pressing, Now when I come to 0, if I keep on pressing, it's gonna go into minus. Now when I press 2, I'm actually adding health, but we're not seeing because it's minus. Now when I go over, for example, 100, if I keep on pressing, it's going 150, 200 and so on. And if I press 1, I have to see that until it comes to 1. So let's fix this problem. Let's go back to our third-person function. There's a simple solution for this. Just put this here on the side. So the final result of this minus or plus health, we want to type here clamp. So we have here clamp float. And the final result is going to go in the health. We want minimum to be 0 and maximum to be 100. So with this setup, when you press 1, it will never go under 0. And if you press 2, or if you heal the character, it will never go over 100. So let's make a simple test. I'm going to right click and type return node. So you can either get the variable and put it like this, or you can use this here and put it over here. Let me delete it just to show you. So from this here in the return value, and look what it says. Retrieves the value of the variable can use instead of separate get node. So you can use instead of this. This is the get node. And me personally, I don't want to clutter the blueprints with nodes. Like I don't want things to be here. The less you have, the better. So if you want to see this more clearly, you can double click and make a reroute nodes like this. Okay. Now from here you can select this output. You can type here help return. Come to the event graph. Now when we use this function, let's say we want to damage the player. If you come to 0, so equals, and call a branch holding B and left click. If it comes to 0, here you can kill the player. So I'm gonna just type print string. So player dead. From false, we don't need to do anything. And from the healing, let's say when we heal the player, if it's equal to 100, we can also call a branch. And we can simply copy and paste this. Health is full. Now let's test it out. Now when I press 1, I'm damaging the player. Player dead. So every time when I press, it's gonna be 0. And when I press 2, 1, I'm straight healing the player. Because it doesn't go less than 0. It doesn't go into minus. So when I go plus, health is full, keep on pressing 2, it's not going to go over 100. Now let's see how we can use this function to damage our player. It's actually very simple. So I'm going to leave this here just for debugging purposes. So we have made one function with two different functionalities. You can either heal or damage the player. Now let's open our content drawer, go to content. I have this folder main. I will make another folder called interfaces. I like to color coding this. So open the folder, right click, go to blueprints, interface. I'm going to call this player underscore interface. Open it up. Now for this, we're gonna need to create one function. We are going to call damage heal player, and we need only input of float. Type this health update. So compile and save. Now we have created interface with the name player_interface. Now let's go to the player character and go to class settings. And here we can add that interface. So type the name player_interface. Compile and save. Nothing happens. Now if you go on the left side, we have this yellow icon, double click, and we have event damage heal player. Now we can get this function that we've created, and we can manipulate this function through this interface. This means every time when you are calling this interface, whatever is going to be here, like a blueprints code, is going to be executed. So this health update float is coming from this input here, just as a reminder. Okay, we don't need this anymore. So back to our player character. So connect these two. This is all you have to do. Drag a pin from here and type equal. Call a branch. So when we damage the player, when we come to 0 health, we're going to kill the player. So I'm gonna copy this. So player is dead. If not, if the player still has health, nothing's gonna happen. So go to damage heal actor. So this is the actor that can damage or heal us. From here, right click, get player character. Now because this interface lives in our player character, we have implemented it here in the class settings. Now we can call that function. So we have to call this name. So damage heal player. So from here, damage heal player. So we have damage heal player message. And now we are having access to the health update. And health update comes from this one. And it's automatically connected with our function. In that way, we are calling actually everything over here with simply calling this one node. Now let's say you want to damage the player, right? So health update. If you want to damage the player, type -10. Now we are having this actor here in the world. Now when I play the game, you damage the player. Now when I come to 0, we're gonna see player is dead. So the function works properly. Now we have this another print string because of the exiting of the box. It's this one, I'm gonna disconnect. And if you want to heal the player, let's say for 20, you can heal the player. But because I have full health, nothing's gonna happen. So I'm gonna press 1 to damage my player from before. And now this box will heal us for 20. Now if you want to make this, for example, this to heal and another actor to damage you, simply duplicate it. So we have one actor, 2 instances. Let's go back to the damage heal. We can promote this to variable. So drag a pin from here and promote to variable and type damage heal. And it's very important to expose this variable. So click here. Now this is going to be connected with a whole interface that comes from the player character, from here. And this variable is separate, so it's not going to impact anything of here. It's going to work only for this blueprint. So let's say damage heal is going to be like 10. So this is the default value. What is the good thing here with the exposing? If you go back to the level, so when you select it, we have here damage heal. The default value is 10, but let's say I want this to be a fire and to damage me. So I'm gonna type -20, for example, and this one is going to be 10. So that way, this is going to damage us for 20. This is going to heal us. And this will kill us if we come to 0. In the future videos, I'm going to make a death function. So when the player comes to 0, we are going to kill the player. Now let's go back to the damage heal. Now you see, we don't have any casting, any hard references. And when you go to the damage heal actor, right click, we have 73 kilobytes, and in the memory 19 kilobytes. So this is practically nothing in the game. Okay, I'm gonna just delete this. And if you want to put here, for example, a fire, so select this instance. Actually, let's go to the blueprint. Let's make another component. So type particle. So particle system, we can type damage heal underscore particle, compile and save. Leave it here blank. So when you go to the level, select damage heal component here. So whatever you change here, it's not going to impact this instance or the original actor. It's going to impact only what is this instance. So select this particle, and let's type fire. I'm going to use the default fire, and I'm going to select this, select the particle, type healing. You can use your own assets for Marketplace. So this is too big, let me make it a bit smaller. Now when I go in the game, we have fire, the damages, and heal us. Now let's kill the player one more time. And that's it. Also in the future videos, I'm going to create how to make damage overtime. So when you're standing in the box, the player is going to be damaged overtime, and also healing overtime. Okay, I hope this video clears things up. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.